Peace and blessings, and welcome back to our channel. Today we are going to be talking about the balanced consumer. This is part 3 of the sheep nature. Where do we see the sheep nature in human nature? Reminder, this channel is about going back to look for the origin, the original ideas. When man took time to study plant and animal life and elements to see what the creation was saying. You know, it's been hundreds and thousands of years that we've been here, and we don't think to look for ourselves. So most of the information we receive, the way we read, the way we observe, is really through the lens of some other information that we've been given, information we've been given over time. It's filtered through that lens. But what would happen if we actually took time to look for ourselves? So these are studies where I've gone in. Not only have I studied the scriptures, I've studied scholars, I've studied books, studied information to try to find as many concepts as I could possibly find that show the similarities between animals, creation, plants, elements, and human behavior. So today we will be talking about the sheep nature, which we've defined as the obedient consumer, but we're going to be talking about the balance. What is this balance that the sheep nature has, that human behavior, that we see in human behavior, right? Where's this logic found in human character? Now, the balanced consumer, when we're talking about human behavior, we're looking at spoils or assets, consumption. What does consumption yield, and how can we be balanced based on what our consumption yields, right? The word spoiled it's an old word, nobody uses it anymore, but it's basically something that yields a return of value as a result of consumption. How do you balance that, and what are we seeing by looking at this specific, the spirit of this specific animal, or the character of this specific animal? To clarify, just a reminder, consumption is defined as the using up of resources. So the physical picture is that the sheep spends most of its time consuming, right? But how often do you see an overweight sheep, right? So yeah, you could just crack it up to, oh, but it's an animal, it's probably got a great immune system and blah da 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 da. But there are a lot of things about this animal that are quite amazing when you start talking about balance. But if you're consuming all of the time, this is the point, if you're consuming all of the time, you should acquire assets, right? Where is all the extra going? What are the assets, right? Something regarded as having value to meet your commitments or legacies, as Google would define it. So whatever you acquire beyond what is necessary that holds value. How does this, where do we see these similarities with the sheep and in human behavior? We're going to get to it. So the valuable excess, your assets. This is seen in how the sheep is able to balance himself in the mountain. He's standing with stability on the edge and in the toughest terrain with no problem, right? Think about yourself. His body is able to withstand the circumstance and condition because of its proportion and ration, right? But it's still quite amazing. He's got these little tiny hooves and this big old body. How in the world is he able to do it? But the message we should be getting is, as consumers, how are we able to balance so that when things get tough, we can survive, right, with no problem? Are you able to do that, right? How many of us can keep the balance materially and spiritually in our consumption, right, so that we can survive in times like that when things get rough? If you look around, the world is doing some crazy stuff right now. The economy is always uncertain now. The planet is doing all kind of weird and crazy stuff. What type of balance are we preparing so that we can survive these situations, so that our families could be okay, right? We'll be okay. But keep this in mind as we talk, because this is the juicy information we're going to be getting into today. Another interesting thing to think on. As human beings, we acquire assets and liabilities, right? Both materially and spiritually. And we automatically, of course, recognize everything material because we're people that have to see it to believe it. But what about the spiritual assets and liabilities? Where do we see this model in nature? Well, you can see it in the human body, and I'm pretty sure that if we look close enough, you probably could see just about everything, every piece of information that we are privy to. It can probably be seen in the human body. I'm at this point in my studies, with all the time that I've been studying, I am convinced that that is the case. I haven't seen anything that can't be what do you call it? Can't be assimilated, not assimilated, can't be mimicked in the human body, or that's similar found in the human body. I haven't seen anything yet that can't be. So once you start studying like this, it's amazing. It becomes miraculous. But where do we see it? Fat and waste, right? Assets and liabilities. Think about it. Fat is something that the body holds on to so that it can function later, while waste is something that the body has to get rid of. When the body holds on to waste, it becomes a liability to the body. You can die, it can harm you. And ironically, when you hold on to fat, you will have the same reaction. That can harm or kill you, right? So let's continue so we can tie these things together so you can see where we see this in you should be able to see. If you're a metaphorical thinker, you probably already understand, but I will take time to unfold it a little bit more. So every part of the sheep is considered valuable because it can be traded, sold, or made useful. Food, milk, clothing, etc. So not only are their material bodies an asset, right? And we see how tremendous the value of studying just the material body of the sheep can be for mankind. The spiritual, the spiritual aspect of the sheep, and obviously, we know that because we see it in all of the religious pictures, but in essence, the sheep in its entirety is a great asset to study for human behavior. It's a creature that's constantly yielding a return value as a result of consumption while keeping the balance. That is how we should picture the sheep when we're talking about human nature. Constantly yielding a return of value as a result of the consumption, all of this consumption that we are doing every day, while keeping the balance in our lives. This creature, the sheep, represents abundance as well, and is seen as a metaphor for the fat of the land. Okay, the fat of the land. You've probably heard that term before. The excess that is used to secure life for not only now, but for the future. Isn't that what fat does, right? So we can imagine centuries ago, this was probably literally the case. Like they were probably treated sheep like gold. There was a time when sheep and cattle was king. It wasn't cash. It was sheep and cattle, right? So the farmer was the man. And he still is, I would say, but things have changed and we can see these symbols today, but we have to ask, who are the players, who are the characters? And that's what you have to ask when you're learning this way or you're studying this way. Who are the characters today? But what's so beautiful about the spiritual understanding of creation is that it transcends the physical reality. So in other words, this nature of the sheep is for all time, right? So it lives today and it's still a tremendous benefit to mankind today. So remember, we've defined the sheep behavior in the human being as the obedient consumer, right? Go back, watch that video if you haven't. We can see how the consumer secures life for not only now, but for the future. And without the consumer, there's no money, there's no savings, there's no job, there's no future, right? There's nothing. So the obedient consumer or the loyal consumer is the commodity. As a business owner, any of you that are in business, you already know. So you keep the customer coming back. That's like your main objective. There's nothing that you're going to do without the consumer, right? So with that being said, being the commodity, right? We're all consumers. Are you an asset? You're the commodity. Are you an asset to the society? Right? Are you an asset to the society? This has to do with what you can contribute beyond your immediate needs. Are you living off the land, or is the land living off of you? Meaning, are you living off society, or is society living off of you? Have you been consuming in a way that has bought you security and freedom enough to make a greater contribution, or are you being consumed by society and unable to contribute beyond your immediate circumstance, right? Are you a commodity as a human being, today in this year that we're living in? Are you an asset? Are you a commodity? Think about how the government must see these things, right? They, based on whether you're an asset or liability, this is really how they're going to deal with us. This is what they use to determine the laws of the land. It's that simple. What happens when you have more people who function as a liability in the society, than you do as an asset? Eventually, it has to fail. Things have to fail. Look around. How many people do we see as liabilities that are not contributing the way that we should? How many people do we see as assets, right? Where we can survive, right? We can survive the things that are going to happen. It's really something. Like, if you're always thinking about yourself, you're never going to see it. You'll be thinking about yourself. Meanwhile, all of these things that are happening in the world are happening, and they're happening for a reason. Okay, we can't expect things to just continue as normal when we have so many people functioning as liabilities, right? And they're functioning as liability. That's really what's happening, because honestly, if, let's say, 50,000 of us died today, I wonder how much would change tomorrow. That's a significant enough number of people that society should change. I wonder. That's all I'm saying. So let's get back on track. So we just said, as much as the sheep consumes, they give of their assets. This is how they create the balance, right? An excellent, excellent, excellent example and mathematical equation for mankind. Give as much as you take. Real simple, mama teachings, but it can really be the difference between life and death when you have a mass number of people that don't think this way. But their milk, they're constantly consuming so that they can make milk and give of their milk, their wool, so that we can have clothes, blankets, rugs, etc. And of course, they're sacrificed as food. They're a sacrificial animal. That is actually going to be the topic of our next presentation that I'm going to be doing, our next conversation. You want to be there for that, because I think we have the wrong idea of what a sacrifice is, and I think I found the answer in nature. But their entire being is useful. All parts of their body and their spiritual nature is beneficial. This is what we want to become. Because of this, their hides and their bodies are used in every affliction and victory. But to understand this, what does this mean? We have to ask, what is the sheep today? Who are the characters? Where do we see it? So the main thing I've learned from studying the sheep nature and human character is this idea of accounting. Accounting, the balance, having an account, what the account is, how much wealth you have, how much in assets you have, how much in liabilities you have. And I'm definitely convinced that further study of the sheep and how it's able to maintain its balance. I'm sure if a scientist was to observe a sheep on the mountain, on an edge, with his little hooves, like I said, sitting on a little piece of rock on the mountain, how in the world, what's happening physically and metaphysically this animal is able to do that? There probably are mathematical I'm sure there are mathematical equations in that that we could learn from. I think the mathematical sciences might just be in watching some sheep. That's what I'm trying to say. But I have a teacher, and he always says, don't be afraid to say where you see it. People aren't used to thinking this way. And sometimes when you're studying, you think of things, you imagine things, and sometimes things just click for you, but it's hard for you to explain. But in the case of the sheep, I definitely see where money, using this term sheep to understand money, wealth, excess. I definitely can see that. But they have the nursery rhymes. You see like the sheep jumping over the moon, and you're supposed to count sheep at night so that you can fall asleep. So my own thought is that it's probably money. Like if my money's right and I'm counting dollars jumping over the moon, then I'm probably going to sleep magnificently that night. But I really don't know what the intention of that nursery rhyme is. I probably need to go find out, because that's probably going to be very interesting. But we are definitely in a time where we can see this clearly. The consumer is the money. That's obvious. The consumer holds the value. How many sheep you have determines how much money you'll make. Most definitely. That's the customer, in other words. So we didn't used to have access to followings. This is the new word for customers, followings, like we do now, with technology. Only the rich had access. So there's a lot more competition for sheep, right? Which is why you have so many influencers today. But those of us who do not think or use discernment, we're going to be consuming all over the place, which is another animal altogether. So now let's take a look at the excess you acquire as a result of consumption that does not hold value, right? We said that the body has fat and the body has waste. So this is the waste, the crap, right? The fat has great value, right? Because it is a form of stored energy that protects you, keeps you warm, and gives you the backup energy you need to get to work. And then your work should create muscle. Sounds very obvious. That's in our next talk, muscle, on the goat. That's going to be the next animal, the goat. You definitely want to tune in for that. The study was awesome. But when you accumulate too much of this fat and you don't build enough muscle, right, though this fat holds great value, it becomes a burden on the body, right? We already know what that example looks like. So interestingly, in this is a metaphor as well, pointing to the relationship between men and women, if you think about it. So look at the woman and her charitable body and her charitable nature, constantly giving, and how her position should be as a great asset for humanity. So great that it inspires the man to build muscle, right? We can't have a society built on the principles of fat without muscle. And you hear these terms in society and you think it's a coincidence. These terms, she is fat with a PH, right? No, I think there are scientific minds that know what I'm saying, right? And I think that they put these terms in society. I'm serious, because it's too much of a coincidence too many times, right? And but so many times I'm going to see similarities over and over again and try to be fooled, that this is just something that magically appeared in society. But that's just my opinion. But so when those of us who have assets don't give back justly, it becomes a burden on society, just like fat is a burden on the body, right? And not only do we have people living off of the fat of the land without giving back to it so that it can replenish itself, they're over consuming at the same time. Meanwhile, others are pretty much living off of the same depleted land and having to work day to day with no extra to look forward to, right? So the visual is a fat person who continues to overeat while there is a hungry person living off of the same food source. Eventually, the food is going to be gone, and the fat person gets to live a more prosperous life because he's been storing food. This is the situation that we're in. But the problem with the fat person, right, the one that's been storing all of this money and wealth and that gets to live this prosperous life, is they can't take it with them, right? And usually people that have large amounts of money like that have too much money to the point where they have a spiritual decline. That is the result of having too much money and not being balanced. So really, there's nothing that you should be celebrating about living a prosperous life because you have so much money when your spirit is dead. Your spirit is suffering, right? But, sometimes our mind, we start talking about rich and poor and things like that. Our minds go to racism a lot of time because of the society that we're living in now is just feeding off of it. But you don't even have to go that far. This is also those of us who have children, and instead of working to leave them inheritance in a world built on capitalism, we're in a capitalistic society. You can no longer not leave your kids inheritance. Figure it out. Get some life insurance. Do something, right? We can't do that anymore. We're not living in a time where you can no longer leave your kids inheritance. I don't care what it is. Like I said, get some life insurance. We'll spend it all on ourselves and we'll live a grand life while leaving them to really start from scratch. We think we're doing a big deed by seeing them through school. Sure, that's a great thing to do and you should do it. That's your obligation and responsibility. But In a capitalistic society, okay, you graduated, you have a public school or private school education. Are you going to be able to live a life? I'm not talking about working every day and being miserable and stacking up money. I'm talking about living life, having a happy life with a balance, which is what this is all about. But, my motto is if you can't change the environment, try to change the mind. And that's part of my charity and what I'm doing with this information and these talks. But back to this visual of the fat and what it symbolized in past civilization. So in some civilizations, they saw excess body fat as a symbol of wealth and prosperity, as the general population struggled with food and shortages and famine, right? So you may have heard in some countries that men prefer fat women. Um, and this has the same basis of understanding this whole wealth and prosperity idea and its association with fat. But this is actually relative in many countries. I thought it was something of the past, but when I started studying it, it actually still today, there are societies that that do this. But doesn't it make sense that as a capitalistic society, we have a problem with obesity? It makes perfect sense. Not just women, but men as well. Lacking muscle, right? Lacking the strength and the protection. So now what's so interesting is while overconsumption is now in the blood of the capitalistic society that we live in America, we're also constantly being told to be healthy and stay fit. So this is why it's so difficult. Your subconscious mind has a lot to do with what's happening, and it's a fight, it's a war, it's a battle. It is not easy to keep just a physical balance with fat and muscle, let alone assets and liabilities, your wealth, right? Your spending. So, these things are definitely attached. You don't hear too many scientists talking about the psychological attachments and similarities when it comes to, material things versus spiritual things, but we can clearly see that. I mean, that's pretty obvious. So what's the fat and where is it going? In today's selfish society, we tend to use all of what is left over after bills and obligations and necessities on ourselves, right? The overeaters, as we've been saying, right? If you've satisfied your bills and obligations and necessities, you've already eaten. Okay, let's just put it there. You've already eaten if that's the case, right? It's okay to have dessert, but instead we want a full serving, the first, second, thirds, fourths, maybe even fifths, and dessert. It's okay, nothing, leaving nothing for tomorrow, depleting our planet, not leaving inheritance for our children, not thinking about the next generations that have to live on this earth. Terrible. We have to develop a heart for humanity. You know, I know that can be difficult. I know the arguments that, I'm living my own personal rough life. I have my own things to work about. And we've got all kinds of serious situations, people in the family on drugs, all kinds of stuff that we're dealing with immediately. But regardless of that, we have to start thinking about humanity. This is the time we have to start thinking about humanity. All right. And sometimes we may have to just bite the bullet and suffer some consequences, to make some real sacrifices so that we can have a planet to live on, so that we can have decent food to eat and decent air to breathe, right? And decent neighbors, living in a peaceful society. But when you've already eaten, my point is you should feel uncomfortable at that point. You should be bloated. You should be constipated. That's normally what happens to the body when you're full, right? This should happen in your spirit, especially when you have family members, like I said, a planet, humanity, people that need the extra, right? Need the extra that you're over consuming constantly, right? Your stomach should hurt. And if it doesn't hurt and you're never satisfied, then you're a pig. You're always eating and that is just gross. But just as the excess is recycled in order to sustain life in nature, our excess is not ours to spend however we want. It has a designation so that we can have a balance for humanity just as the sheep maintains a balance on even the toughest terrain, as we mentioned, right? Think about it. Okay. Maybe this is hard for you to hear. You work all day, you went to school, whatever, you're tired, you're working, your back hurts, what have you. Do you feel like your money is just yours? It's your money. You can do whatever you want to do with it. This is your wealth. You can do, listen, it's mine. I can mind your business. I can do whatever I want. Do you feel like that's okay, really? You know, is that really okay? And what kind of world should we expect to live in if that's what we really think about wealth, right? We have to give from what we have left over after debt to those in need who qualify, right? We're obligated. Maybe it sounds crazy to you. I don't know. But this is what taxes are for, right? You have to force people because many people feel like their money is their own. It doesn't matter. I don't want to pay taxes. I don't want to, and I'm not going to. And I'm going to try to do everything that I can not to have to do it. Well, we shouldn't complain. And what if we weren't forced? What would the place look like if we weren't forced to pay taxes? I think it would be terrible. That's what it would look like. But you should be trying to at least give more than, if you can. Maybe your financial situation is one where you don't have a lot of leftover. That's fine. We're not talking about that. We're in America. If you're buying anything expensive on any type of regular basis, or you're able to splurge and spend money, then that means that you're wasting some of your money. And you want to make sure that your obligations, after your obligations, that the money is going to where it's supposed to be going, right? To people who qualify. Now, you may be asking, well, who's qualified to receive it, right? People who are unable due to no circumstance of their own. This eliminates a lot of people. Your child who keeps asking for money that's completely, capable of getting a job and doing something. The spouse, that refuses to go make money on their own out of laziness, or what have you. The organization that keeps asking you for money, but you see no improvement from them in society. You can't just give your money to anybody that puts their hand out and looks the part. Otherwise, you're probably, supporting them and failing, right? And you're not going to be able to keep a balance in that way. So sheep, as we've mentioned, are not animals of burden, but they carry excessive hair, right? Or wool. And because it becomes a burden, they have to give it. They have to have it cut. They have to have it cut, and they have to give it away. And it doesn't go in the trash. It's being recycled and it's being used, right? So, one of the metaphors for hair is knowledge. So if you've been listening, you can put two and two together and get four on this. There are people that carry a lot of knowledge. If they have too much knowledge, as you age and you're getting up there. Have you ever been around elderly people? They're always teaching. It's like they're trying to purge themselves of knowledge, right? We see it all the time. They feel burdened if they can't give in charity, whether it's in the form of knowledge, whether it's in the form of money, what have you. It's a beautiful thing. I see it in my parents, just constantly trying to teach, I'm 46 years old and they're still trying to teach, and I'm still trying to listen because I want to learn everything that I can from them while they're here, right? But there's this sense of urgency to give it away before you go because you can't take it with you. You're trying to create a balance even in that age, right? A spiritual balance. You're worried about your spirit too and what's going to happen next. But you hear these stories of millionaires and billionaires all the time that are up in age and start giving it all away to balance out their soul, to balance out the assets and liabilities of their soul, right? But my mom is like this. She's just a person that I really believe if she could cut her leg off and give it to you, I think she would do it. That's how giving she is. And she also, when she has extra food on her plate, she'll try to eat it because she don't want to waste it. Or if you have extra food on your plate and you're sitting next to her, she's going to try to take your extra food off your plate and take it home and put it in the refrigerator so she can eat it later. I mean, that's how That's how human she is, and sensitive she is to waste. And that is a beautiful nature. But then you walk out the door and you go down the street to your nearest restaurant, and you're literally given a plate of food with servings for six. And not it's not just that that's insane and troubling. Most of us can't not eat all of it, or most of us are going to eat way more than we need to eat, and it's because we're really conditioned. It's you have to change your environment to really change something like that. But if you're constantly being bombarded like we are, we have a problem. Okay, we have a problem with consumption. Okay, and this is why this examination of the sheep is really so important right now. This balance, this way. How do we break through this? You really have to try it. Figure out a way to balance out what you're hearing and seeing, what's feeding your your hunger, your spiritual hunger, your material hunger, and how much you're consuming. We have to find a way to do it. A lot of us with families are struggling because we're being mentally bombarded. We're overeating in so many ways, and it's handicapping us. Like you should be able to have a plate of food and say, okay, I'm going to eat this part. I'm going to eat this part. I'm going to eat this little part here, and I'm going to wrap the rest of this up. Sounds simple, but it doesn't happen most of the time, right? We've got a problem. We really do. But, I mean, being in America, in a place this powerful, a place with this much money, seeing all the poor people we still have, people that are in need, and having this problem with consumption, we should feel terrible. We should feel terrible. I do pretty good with my balance, but I still feel terrible because I still have a long way to go. Um, but I want to leave you with this. I think a huge part of figuring this out, of balancing this out, right, and becoming better people when it comes to balancing our consumption is we're constantly giving assets to people who don't qualify, right? We're constantly spending assets, right, when we should not be. Okay, so if we could figure out a way to say no, right? No, I'm sorry, I can't help you with that. Okay, because this is how much money I have left over. This is what I need for tomorrow. This is my obligation. This is the portion I have that I can splurge. You know, if we can get that down, and then if we can create a way to isolate ourselves some from all of the bombardment of consumption, then maybe we may have a chance. Okay, but even as I say it out of my mouth, it sounds nearly impossible living in a society like this. You have to have a serious, strong spirit. Because look, even when you find somebody that has a significant spiritual nature, meaning their their spirituality is strong and admirable, a lot of times they're overweight, right? How is what you're gonna say? Um, just think about that. Like if you're spiritual, you've got your spirit sound. How is your body overweight? And that's the subconscious mind, right? But thank you for listening. That's all I have for today. My next presentation, well, my next conversation. I hate saying presentation because it's really not a presentation. My next conversation is going to be on the sacrificial lamb. You really need to listen to this next conversation because most of us do not know what sacrifice means. So I went into nature, I went into my library and began to study this. What is it? And what are we doing wrong? How can we fix it? So be sure to tune in for that. If you learned anything listening to this conversation, please be sure to leave a comment. Please be sure to respond so that I can hear what's on your mind and get your creative thoughts as well. And also hit the like button and subscribe button. See you guys next time.